Ah, oh, that's hot.
Welcome, riders, ridettes, and pillions. You join me on a balmy 39-degree February day here in Virginia. This is about the coldest temperature that I'm willing to ride in, if I can help it. I'm wearing the absolute warmest complement of motorcycle gear that I own, which consists of my Rev'It Nautilus insulated jacket, my AGV Sport Telluride pants, and of course my beloved Rev'It Boxer H2O gloves. Links in the description below is what I would say if it weren't for the fact that all three of these items have been discontinued. But regardless of what cold weather riding gear we wear, our hands are our weakest link. I can't tell you the number of times I've been out riding in chilly temperatures and found that my core was warm and toasty, my legs and feet were sweating, and my hands were frozen and numb. And I decided that this would be the winter that I'd do something about it. Now, as I'm sure you riders who don't live in California or Florida are aware, there's a couple different solutions to this problem. One is those giant mitten things that slip over the handlebar and controls and cover your hand and wrist. That's more of a scooter thing, and I'm not really a big fan of the look. Another possible solution is heated gloves, which plug into a power source, usually from the bike itself. I know that solution does work well for a lot of riders, but I personally do more than enough futzing with my existing gear. The solution that I ended up going for is, of course, a pair of heated grips. You can see that I've already installed them on the bike, and the LED light is glowing to indicate that they are on and warm. The specific pair that I chose are the Koso Apollo universal heated grips. In today's video, I'm going to go over why I chose these over some of the other heated grip options out there, what it took for me to install them, and of course, how well they actually work. Now, what other heated grip options are there that would work with my 2019 Triumph Speed Twin? Well, of course, the factory accessory Triumph heated grips. The grips and their control system integrates seamlessly into the motorcycle, but I took a pass on those because they are really expensive, like at least 2.5 times the cost of the Koso grips. And this is something that I'm really only going to be using a few times a year. Another option that's very similar to the Koso grips that I got, and also about the same price, is the Oxford heaters. But I didn't go for those because they have a separate remote control unit. Well, it's not like a wireless remote control, but it's on a wire. That's one more cable you have to run. You have to find a place to mount the little controller here on the handlebar. The Koso grips, on the other hand, have an integrated control mechanism, just like the Triumph ones do. So that's how I ended up choosing the Koso heated grips, but I will go into a little bit more detail about the pros and cons of each of those options later in this video. But first, I'm going to throw you guys to my garage a couple days ago so that you can see me install these Koso Apollo grips on my Triumph Speed Twin.
In the box from Koso, you get the 2 heated grips, the necessary wiring and fuse block, and, thoughtfully, a bit of super glue for securing the grips to the handlebars. Not included are some zip ties, which you're going to want. You also get a set of instructions, although those are not terribly helpful. The English translation is awful, and this is a universal accessory, so the installation procedure is not exactly the same on every motorcycle. The basic gist is you'll have to remove the factory rubber grips, replace them with the heated grips, and wire both heated grips back to the motorcycle's battery. Piece of cake, right? So simple an idiot could do it. Or can I? Step 1 is to remove the bar ends and mirrors, which clamp to these little friction rings. Then pull the factory rubber grips completely off. I tried test fitting the left Koso grip onto the handlebar, but it was such a tight fit that it would hardly budge. When it comes time to actually install it, the superglue will act as a lubricant while it's still wet. The factory grip on the right side is not as easy to remove. It's fixed in place by small lugs and a lip at the end of the rotating throttle tube. It can be pulled off by hand, but I was unable to do so, even after trying for so long that it got too cold to keep working in the driveway. My only choice then was to cut the grip off with a razor blade, but first, we'd better make sure that the new heated grips are actually going to work. We do this by hooking them up to power and turning them on. Some folks recommend piggybacking a relay onto the taillight power line, but I'm going straight into the battery for now. After wiring them to the battery, I turned on the grips and they heated right up. We're in business.
That's hot.
Now we can cut the other grip. With it off, you can see those plastic lugs that held the original rubber grip in place on the throttle tube. Those little protrusions are actually going to have to be removed so that we can slide the Koso grip into place. So, take that razor blade and get shaving. When you're doing this, make sure you completely block the camera from seeing what you're doing. Will you get out of the way, please? Thank you. This step was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. Take your time, and you may even find it a little satisfying. When it came time to do that lip at the end, I just ground that off with a Dremel. Give the throttle tube a quick sand, dust it off, and you're ready to attach the starboard heated grip. With the help of that super glue, the new grip should glide right on. Just make sure you work quickly so it doesn't... Oh, no, it's setting. All right, forget the camera, forget the video. Just do whatever it takes to get that damn thing all the way on. No, not that. Just push on it. Okay, it's on. Whew. Once the glue sets and your heart rate goes down a little, you'll find your new heated grip perfectly mated to the rotating throttle tube. Ideally, you'll have positioned the grip so that the protruding control wire will be right between the grip itself and the front brake lever. Now we do the left side. Just like before, apply the glue so you've got some lubricant, but make sure you work quickly or else... Oh, you're kidding me. Did you learn nothing from the first one? Push, 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 come on, come on! Oh no, it's stuck. About a ½ inch from where it needs to be, it's stuck. Fuck, that was a lot of super glue. This thing is not coming loose. Oh my god, what do I do? Okay, think. Maybe it's close enough and I can still put the mirror back on? Oh, no, damn it. Ugh, why do I create a stupid problem like this every single time I turn a wrench? You would think I couldn't even ratchet my own pants on in the morning. Why do I even bother? I will not be defeated by these grips. Fortunately for me, super glue can be broken with the application of a little bit of heat. If your grip gets stuck partway like mine did, just get it real warm and it should twist free with ease. You should also run the grips for a few minutes before this on their hottest setting to help the process along. Man, am I glad that's over. Once that glue has set in the proper position, it'll be time to route the wiring from the battery up to the grips. The lazy way to do this is to lift up the gas tank a little bit, shove the wires through, and hope that they end up in a good spot. The correct way to do this is to disconnect the fuel line and fuel pump wiring and remove the gas tank entirely so you can see what you're doing. We're going to do it the lazy way. Prop up your tank using a piece of wood and a plastic mallet, both available in the official Triumph tool catalog. Then find a place to tuck the Koso grip's fuse box. I ran the two grip wires parallel with the existing front brake line and clutch cable and slipped them under the front lip of the gas tank. The wires do rub on the tank a bit when I turn the bars lock to lock, but the contact seems minimal. I'll keep an eye out for abrasion and reinforce or reroute the wires if necessary. Once I was happy with my routing, I zip-tied the wires in place and reattached the mirrors, bar ends, and seat. After making sure the bike still starts and runs and doesn't smoke, the job is done. Now it's time to get out there into that cold weather and find out just what these grips... Oh, you're kidding me.
And we're back. It's about 2 days after the snow fell. Normally I would have waited a little bit longer before going for a ride just to make sure that all the salt and stuff had washed off the road, but I was really excited for the chance to test these grips out in some cold weather. So, how do the Koso Apollo grips work? As advertised. You push a button, they get warm. Not much to it. The control unit in the left-hand grip has one button on it. Pressing it once turns the heated grips on to standby mode, which is indicated by a blue LED, and then each tap after that cycles it through one of 4 heat settings, what I'll call low, medium, high, and max. I've been riding in the second heat setting, yellow, which I think is medium, and they are plenty warm. Like I said, it's in the upper 30s today, maybe 40 in the sun, and my hands are not cold at all. They are warmer than warm. I haven't really been on any highways today, so I'm sure that I would use setting 3 or possibly even 4 if I was going to spend a long time riding at high speed in really cold temperatures. Now, does having these grips installed mean that when I look at my weather app and see that it's going to be 33 degrees, I'll go, oh boy, and grab my helmet and go for a ride? No, it does not. But what this does mean is that I'll continue to ride in the same conditions I normally would, only I'll be a lot more comfortable when I'll do it. Just because I'm able to keep my hands warm doesn't mean that there won't be, you know, ice on the road and stuff like that. That said, I have on occasion in my life been a motorcycle commuter, and in those cases you don't really get to choose what temperature you're riding in. Also, people who live in places like Colorado, where I spent a few weeks riding last fall, as I'm sure you know, they sometimes have to deal with extreme high temperatures during the day and extreme low temperatures at night or early in the morning. Sometimes I would go for a ride out there knowing that it was going to be really nice weather that day, but for the first hour or two my fingers would be freezing. These would have been really nice to have there. A feature of these grips that some people might think is pretty cool is that it will remember what mode you were last in. So you can cycle up to, say, mode 3 out of 4, and then hold down the control button for 3 seconds to shut it off. The next time you turn the grips back on, they'll jump right to level 3. Now, an unfortunate characteristic of these grips, well, I should say it could be unfortunate, is that they're powered independently of all the other electronics on the bike. They're wired right into the battery, which means that they can run even when the key is not in the ignition and the motorcycle is not turned on. If you're not careful, you might park somewhere, take the key out and leave the bike, but leave your Koso Apollo grips on, and it would drain the battery while you're away. If I find that I have trouble remembering to turn them off, then maybe I'll have to splice them into a relay on a different powered wire that only comes on when the ignition is on. I've heard some users online recommend wiring it into the power line for the taillights. I hate splicing wires, but if that's something you're not afraid to tackle, then by all means. And that leads me to perhaps the biggest advantage of the OEM Triumph accessory heated grips, and that is the integration. They do have their control unit integrated into the left hand grip just like these Koso ones do, but they go even further than that. The wiring for them doesn't hang down below the grips like this. It actually slips through the inside of the handlebar itself, and then they plug directly into the wiring harness. You're not powering them off the battery, so they only come on when the bike is on, and they shut off when the bike shuts off. Once installed, the integration is just seamless. I still think they're way overpriced, especially for me considering how much I expect to use them, but that's definitely another point in favor of the Triumph grips. After watching a couple videos on it, I think the Triumph grips are easier to install as well. The right-hand Triumph heated grip actually replaces the entire rotating throttle tube, so you don't have to shave those lugs off like I did. So that's pretty much all the pros and cons of the Koso versus the OEM Triumph grips. So why would anybody choose the Oxford heaters? And the answer is that they're just a little bit cheaper. I want to say the Koso grips are about $110 and the Oxford grips are about $90. The Triumph grips, of course, are anywhere from $240 to $300. To summarize those 3 main heated grip options, I'll break it down into a couple categories: integration, price, and installation. Integration, the Triumph OEM grips are the king. The Koso Apollo grips are a little ways behind that, and the Oxford heaters grips with their remote control switch are a little further below that. Price-wise, of course, the Oxfords are the best, but followed very closely by the Kosos, with the OEM grips well in last place. And finally, installation. Provided you're not an idiot like me, I think it's kind of a toss-up between the OEM and the Koso, but I will hand a slight edge to the OEM because, I guess because they're slightly more reversible if you ever wanted to take them off again. The Oxford heaters are not terribly far behind in that category, but again, the challenge is finding a way to wire up that remote switch. So that's it for today's video, guys. If you're a year-round rider, tell me in the comments what your hand warmth solution is. And let me know if you have any personal experience with or thoughts on these Koso Apollo grips. If you think I'm a cheap bastard for not going with the OEM grips, just know that I took the money I saved and set it aside for my next big trip out west with this motorcycle. That's right, I am back home in Virginia, and I have been for a little while. I know that a lot of you watching just discovered my channel recently as I was wrapping up the last of the videos I filmed out in Colorado. Well, I do have one more to post that I filmed on the way home, but it's not really a riding video, you'll see. But anyways, while I'm home this winter, I'm taking the opportunity to make a couple more mods to this bike before I head out again. And by the time I'm done getting those things installed, it should be just about time for me to load the bike up and head out for my next journey, probably around late March, early April. I haven't quite decided where I'm going yet. I'm thinking about northern Arizona. I'm thinking about a different part of Colorado or possibly Utah. Whatever I pick, you guys will be the first to know about it, and I hope you'll follow along. If you want to see more videos like this about Triumph Speed Twin mods and accessories, or more videos about motorcycle adventures like the other ones on my channel, then make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate everybody who watches and comments, and I've had a blast watching this channel grow a little bit. Until next time, ride safe and stay warm. Thank you for watching.